Today, we are diving into one of the most bizarre and, honestly, one of the coolest strategies in all of biology. It's a story about an ancient animal that deliberately, and I mean on purpose, throws away huge chunks of its own genetic code. Right off the bat, you have to ask, why? Why on earth would an animal do that? It just seems to fly in the face of everything we think we know about life. DNA is supposed to be the blueprint, right? The master instructions. So why would any organism start tearing pages out of its own instruction manual? Well, that's the incredible mystery we're unraveling today. You know, for you, for me, for almost every other complex creature on this planet, the #1 rule is simple: protect the genome. Every single cell in your body, from your brain to your big toe, has a perfect, identical copy of your DNA. And keeping that DNA safe and sound is absolutely fundamental to survival. But it turns out, some animals play by a very, very different set of rules. Okay, get a load of this number. We have an animal that eliminates nearly 20% of its entire genome from most of the cells in its body. Think about that. Not just a few genes here or there, but a massive, systematic purge of its own DNA. So who is this radical genetic editor? Well, the creature at the heart of our story is the lamprey. These eel-like, jawless fish are basically living fossils. They're survivors from a completely bygone era of Earth's history. And, as it turns out, they've been hiding this profound genetic secret for a very, very long time. To really put this in perspective, the evolutionary branch that led to lampreys, it's split from the one that would eventually lead to us and all other jawed vertebrates, way before the age of dinosaurs even began. That's how ancient they are. They are literally a window into our deepest evolutionary past. We're talking about a split that happened about 500 million years ago. That immense timescale is so crucial here, because it means that this bizarre genetic process we're about to see isn't some newfangled trick. No, this is an ancient solution to an ancient problem. So how exactly does a lamprey pull off this incredible feat of genetic deletion? Well, it's not random or chaotic at all. In fact, it's a super precise, programmed event that happens very early in their development. The official scientific term for this is Programmed Genome Rearrangement, or PGR for short. Here's what happens. During the first few cell divisions of a brand new lamprey embryo, a decision gets made. Most of the cells, the ones that are going to form the body, what scientists call somatic cells, they start a process of systematically destroying huge parts of their own DNA. And you can literally see it happening right here in these incredible microscope images. As a cell gets ready to divide, you can see the main chromosomes, shown in blue, lining up perfectly like they're supposed to. But then, look at that DNA in red. It's being left behind. It's getting stranded right in the middle of the dividing cell. This is what's known as lagging chromatin. So what happens to all this DNA that gets left behind? Well, the cell neatly packages this lagging chromatin into these tiny, separate bundles called micronuclei. You could almost think of them as little garbage bags filled with genetic material that's been marked for destruction, and then it's just eliminated. Now, what's really amazing here is that this isn't some weird fluke that only happens in one species. On the left, you've got the sea lamprey. On the right, the Pacific lamprey. Their evolutionary paths split about 40 million years ago, yet both of them perform this DNA elimination in a nearly identical way. That tells you that this process, PGR, is a deeply ingrained, evolutionarily successful strategy. Okay, so this all leads us back to that central question: why? Why go through all of this trouble to throw away perfectly good DNA? Well, the answer seems to lie in a fundamental conflict between the cells that make up the body and the cells that are destined to make the next generation. The best way to think about this is that a lamprey is essentially one animal with two different genomes. Its germline cells, so the sperm and eggs, they keep the full, complete, unabridged master blueprint. But the somatic cells, the ones that build the muscles and skin and organs, they get a heavily edited, redacted copy. So whatever is in those deleted sections must hold the key to this whole mystery. So what kind of genes are actually getting the boot? Well, when researchers looked at the hundreds of genes being thrown out, a really clear pattern emerged. A lot of these deleted genes, like this one called RBM46, are critical for developing germ cells and for something called pluripotency. That's the magic ability of a cell to become any other type of cell. Others are powerful players in developmental signaling and gene regulation. So here it is, the crucial insight. The very genes that are absolutely essential for making sperm and eggs, for creating a new organism, are actually pretty dangerous if they get switched on in regular body cells. If they're misexpressed, they could cause all sorts of problems, disrupting normal development or even leading to things like cancer. The Lamprey solution is absolute. If a gene is potentially dangerous, don't just turn it off. Get rid of it, permanently.
This whole thing raises a really fascinating question. I mean, if controlling these dangerous germline genes is such a fundamental problem for life, how did the rest of us, the jawed vertebrates, including humans, how did we solve it? Well, it turns out we took a completely different path.
This is just a beautiful example of what biologists call convergent evolution. Both our ancestors and the Lampreys' ancestors faced the exact same challenge. How do you keep these powerful, potentially disruptive genes that you need for reproduction from wreaking havoc in the rest of the body? And they both came up with brilliant but totally different solutions. So, on the left, you've got the Lamprey strategy, physical deletion. It is the ultimate form of gene silencing. You can't express a gene that literally isn't there anymore. On the right is our solution, epigenetic silencing. We keep all the genes, but we plaster the dangerous ones with chemical off switches. We don't rip the page out of the book, we just put a permanent do not read sticker on it. The Lamprey's radical approach to managing its genome just goes to show that there are still these huge fundamental aspects of biology left to discover. And they're often hidden in the DNA of creatures that have been swimming in our planet's waters for 500 million years. It really makes you wonder, what other extraordinary solutions to life's biggest problems are still out there, just waiting for us to decode them?